So I'd like to welcome you to Painting Folds of Fabric, and I want you to go with me on this journey. We're going to look at these drapes. Now watch, feast your eyes on this. See how you can see the shadows and the shapes. The shapes of the shadows make up these folds. And as you can see, there's lights, there's darks, there's long upside down triangles, there's straight angles, and then there's the darkness. So the darkness of the shadows, that is actually the part that is furthest away from your eye. So if you break it down, the folds are made up of a series, and series means ongoing, of lights and darks. It's a series of lights and darks. So here is a sample that I did based on the drapes we just saw. And you could see I took the dark, so I laid the dark first. And you'll see in my next demonstration where I lay all of the dark first, and then we layer it using one up color, then the next lighter color, then the next lighter color, and so on. And again, I reiterate the darkness of the drapes. Those darkness, that's what you see in the drapes. All right, so anyway, you can see where I've started this, and I thought I'd just share this with you. I'm sorry it has the writing on it, but for the purpose of the demonstration, I think it will work. So hang in there with me. All right, so what I've done here is I've taken the darkest of my shades of orange, red, bright orange, yellow. I've taken the darkest, which is the Van Dyke red, and I'm going over most of the area that I kind of see as darker in the folds, pretty much. I probably should have just went over the entire area, but I wanted to get a sense of the folds. And so here, I've added a little bit lighter red, so it's a grade above the Van Dyke red. It's not the orange, but it's just the red. All right, so watch closely. So based on the image that I'm painting from the source, it's sort of a lighter orangey. So I dipped my brush into a little bit of yellow with my orange because the light is coming from this side just a little bit, and that's another key. You always, when it comes to these folds, you want to be aware which direction is the light coming from. Is it coming from the left? Is it coming from up above? Or is it coming from to the right? Or is it coming from the left and the right? Hang in there. All right. So I just want to remind you, remember, allow 15 minutes, at least 15 minutes in between layers. And that is if you don't want the layers to run together, you want them to be more defined, you allow 15 minutes in between each layer, 10 to 15 minutes, so that it can adhere to the canvas. And then you can just keep adding lighter and lighter and lighter colors to your hue, to your colors. All right, so I can see that you've probably gotten a really good hang of it, that it is just a series of lights and darks and long strokes. That's one thing I did not mention. I wanted to make sure I mentioned they're long strokes, because if your fabric is very long on your model, you want to imitate that with making very, very long strokes. Therefore, it will look as though your fabric is flowing from the model. So as we remember, let's recap a little, shall we? All right, so Step 1, notice the shapes of the folds and the darkest to the lightest. Make sure that your brain fully embraces that, understands the shapes that those shadows and darknesses and lights are making. Step 2, ask yourself, which direction are these folds leaning into? All right? And let's see. And step 3, you just start painting. And you start painting with doing the darkest to the light. And don't forget to allow a little bit of time in between each layer if you want it like that. Hope this helped. Have a great, great painting session.